Welcome to Auntie Rose Narrates. Before today's story of betrayal and self-discovery, please subscribe and hit like to help these stories be heard. Drop your city or country in the comments. It always warms my heart. Now let's begin. I never thought I would walk into a hospital to face the woman my husband loved behind my back. For weeks, I had imagined that moment in my head. I thought my heart would race. I thought my voice would shake Dot, but when the day finally came, I felt quiet inside. So quiet it scared me more than anger ever could. Dot, my name is Lorraine Jackson. I am a Black woman who believed in loyalty the way my mother taught me, quietly, deeply, and without conditions. For 32 years, I stood beside my husband, Marcus Jackson, believing that love meant endurance, believing that staying was strength. The hospital hallway was long and cold. The lights above me hummed softly, like they did not care about the weight I was carrying. I held a small plastic bag in my hands. I did not even remember picking it up. Dot, inside were oranges, a book, and a scarf. I think I brought them because I did not know what else to bring when your world is breaking. Kept asking myself one question as I walked. What did she have that I didn't? I had given Marcus my youth, my body, my patience, my silence when I should have spoken. Still, he found comfort in another woman's arms. The nurse spoke gently when she pointed me down the hallway. Room 312, she said, like she was giving directions to somewhere ordinary. Each step felt heavier than the last, not because my legs were weak, but because my heart already knew something my mind was still refusing to accept. I stopped outside the door. There was a small glass window at the top. I caught a glimpse of myself in it. My face looked older, not from age, but from caring too much for too long. I raised my hand to knock. Then I lowered it. I was not there to ask permission. I was there to understand. I pushed the door open. The sound of it opening felt loud in the quiet room. Too loud. I took one step inside, then another, and that was when everything I believed about my marriage shattered. The bag slipped from my hands. Oranges rolled across the floor, bouncing softly against the wall. I could not move. I could not speak, because the woman lying in that hospital bed was not who I expected. And in that moment, my whole world came crashing down with those oranges rolling away from me. My name is Lorraine Jackson. And before everything changed, my life followed a rhythm I trusted. It was not exciting, and it was not easy, but it was familiar. I believed familiarity was a form of safety. I believed that if you showed up every day, even quietly, love would stay. That belief was handed down to me the same way old recipes are passed from mother to daughter, without written instructions, just memory and example. I was raised in a Black family where love was shown through responsibility. My parents did not talk much about feelings, but they showed care through actions. My mother woke before sunrise every day to make sure the house was ready before we left for school. My father worked long hours and came home tired, but he never missed a bill or a family dinner when he could help it. They argued sometimes, but they never left. To me, that meant everything. From a young age, I learned that a woman's strength was quiet. She carried things so others would not have to. She kept the peace even when it cost her comfort. That lesson settled deep inside me, shaping the choices I would later make without even realizing it. I met Marcus Jackson when I was still figuring out who I wanted to be. It was at a family cookout hosted by mutual friends. The music was low, children were running through the yard, and someone was always laughing in the background. Marcus stood near the grill, not saying much, just listening. When I went back from our food, he noticed my plate was empty and offered to refill it. He did not flirt. He did not show off. He simply smiled and asked how I liked the food. That small moment stayed with me. It felt respectful. It felt calm. We talked for a long time that day. Marcus asked about my work at the community center. He listened closely, like what I said mattered. When I told him I wanted to go back to school someday, he nodded and said we would figure it out together. That word, together, wrapped itself around my heart without me knowing it would later break. Our relationship grew slowly. We were not passionate in a dramatic way. We were steady. We went on simple dates, long walks, late night talks, shared meals. Marcus made me feel chosen, not chased. That mattered to me. I wanted partnership, not fireworks. When we married, it was a modest ceremony in a small church with wooden floors that creaked when people stood. My dress was simple. My smile was real. I remember holding Marcus's hands and feeling safe. I truly believed I was stepping into a future built on trust, patience, and shared effort. The early years of our marriage were full of adjustment. Money was tight. We rented a small apartment and made do with secondhand furniture. But there was laughter in that space. There were late dinners and early mornings. We talked about everything men, dreams, fears, hopes. Marcus held my hand when we slept, even when summer made it uncomfortable. I felt seen. When our son Daniel was born, something inside me shifted forever. The moment I held him, I understood a new kind of love, one that scared me with its depth. Marcus cried that day, even though he tried to hide it. I remember watching him hold our son and thinking that this was what we were building toward. This family, this life. I left my job to stay home with Daniel. It felt like the right decision at the time. Childcare was expensive, and Marcus's job offered stability. I told myself it was temporary, just until things settled, just until the kids were older. I did not realize how quickly temporary can turn into permanent when you stop asking yourself what you want. 4 years later, our daughter Alyssa was born. By then, my life revolved around schedules, meals, and routines. I knew which grocery store had the best prices, which doctor to call, which nights the kids needed extra attention. Marcus worked longer hours. He said it was for us. I believed him. Our home was not fancy, but it was warm. Family photos lined the walls. The smell of cooked food filled the kitchen most evenings. I cooked dinner almost every night. Nothing special, just meals that felt familiar. Marcus would come home tired, kiss my cheek, ask about the kids, and then sit down in front of the television. I cleaned up quietly. At first, I did not mind. I told myself this was teamwork, different roles, same goal. Over time, though, something shifted. Marcus stopped asking about my day. He answered questions with short replies. He stayed on his phone longer. When I tried to talk, he said he was tired. When I reached for his hand, he pulled away without noticing. The distance crept in so slowly that I could not point to when it began. I told myself marriages went through phases. My mother always said love was not about excitement. It was about commitment. So I committed harder. I woke earlier. I cooked better meals. I kept the house quieter. I made life easier for him, believing that if I did enough, he would come back to me. But the distance stayed. When the children grew older and needed me less, the silence became louder. There were days when I realized I had not spoken out loud to anyone until Marcus came home. Even then, our conversations felt thin. He stayed out later. Said work was stressful, deadlines, responsibilities. I nodded. I listened. I did not accuse. That was not how I was raised. At night, I lay awake beside him, staring at the ceiling. His back faced me. The space between us felt wider than the bed. I wondered when that space appeared, and how long it had been there before I noticed. There were signs I ignored. Late night messages he stepped outside to answer. Passwords changed. Weekends filled with sudden obligations. I noticed them, but I did not confront them. Part of me was afraid. Not of the truth, but of what it would mean if I faced it. Because if Marcus was no longer mine, then who was I? I had built my identity around being a wife and a mother. I had put my dreams on hold for so long they felt distant. I did not know who I was outside of this family. So I stayed quiet. The truth came quietly, not through a confession, but through a phone call. A hospital call. The voice on the other end was calm and professional. They asked if I was Marcus Jackson's wife. My heart dropped before they said anything else. They told me there had been an accident. Another woman was involved. I remember sitting down slowly, my legs weak, my hands went cold. I asked if my husband was okay. They said yes. Then they said her name, Tanya Williams. I had never heard it before, but somehow it felt familiar, like a word I had been avoiding. Marcus came home the next morning. His face was pale. His eyes avoided mine. He sat at the kitchen table where I had served meals for years. He said he needed to tell me something. I already knew. He told me about Tanya, about how long it had been going on, about how it just happened. He said it did not mean he did not love me. I listened quietly. Inside, something went numb. Then he said she was in the hospital, that she was badly hurt, that she had no one else. And when he said she needed support, something inside me shifted. That night, after he fell asleep, I sat alone at the table, staring at the life I thought was mine, and asked myself the question that would not leave me. What did she have that I didn't? And that question led me to the hospital. The hospital felt colder the second time I walked in. The first visit had been about shock. This time, it was about choice. I stood near the entrance for a long moment, watching people come and go. Nurses moved quickly. Families whispered to each other. Somewhere down the hallway, a machine beeped steadily. Life was continuing for everyone else, even though mine felt paused. I asked myself again why I was there. Marcus had not asked me to come. He did not stop me either. He had said Tanya needed support, and then he had gone quiet, like he always did when things became uncomfortable. I realized then that this visit was not for him. It was for me. I needed to see her. I needed to face the reality I had been avoiding. As I walked down the hallway toward room 312, my steps slowed. Each one felt heavier than the last. I noticed small details I had ignored before, the smell of disinfectant, the quiet echo of shoes on the floor, the way my hands trembled when I tightened my grip on the bag I was carrying. I wondered if anyone could tell what kind of pain I was walking with. When I reached the door, I paused again. I thought about turning around. No one would blame me if I did. I had already suffered enough. But something inside me refused to leave without answers. So I took a breath and pushed the door open. The room was dim. The curtains were half drawn, letting in soft light. Machines surrounded the bed, blinking quietly, and there she was. Tanya Williams, the woman who had shared my husband's life without my knowledge. The woman I had imagined 100 different ways in my mind. She was smaller than I expected, fragile. Her skin was pale against the white sheets. Tubes ran from her arms. Her face was bruised. This was not the confident woman I had pictured. This was someone broken and hurting. For a moment, I felt something unexpected. Not anger, not jealousy. Pity. I stood there silently, unsure of what to do. Then Tanya opened her eyes. They moved slowly, adjusting to the light. When they met mine, confusion passed over her face. Then recognition. Her expression changed, and I knew she understood exactly who I was. "You're Lorraine," she said softly. Hearing my name in her voice felt strange, like it did not belong there. I nodded. I could not speak yet. My throat felt tight. "I didn't think you'd come," she said after a moment. Neither did I. I pulled a chair closer to the bed and sat down slowly. The bag rested on the floor beside me. Neither of us spoke for a long time. The machines filled the silence. I realized how tired she looked, how young she seemed, younger than me. That realization settled heavily in my chest. "I'm sorry," she said quietly, "for everything." Her words did not bring relief. They did not bring closure. They just landed between us, unfinished. I nodded again, not because I accepted her apology, but because I did not know what else to do with it. We talked in short sentences. She told me about the accident, about the pain, about how scared she had been. I listened without interrupting. I wondered if this was how Marcus listened to her when she spoke. If he had been this patient with me. She told me she did not know how serious things were until she woke up in the hospital. She said Marcus had been there every day, sitting by her bed, holding her hand. That detail hurt more than anything else, she said. I nodded, keeping my face calm. Inside, my heart tightened. When I left the room that day, I felt heavy, not angry, just tired. I sat in my car for a long time before driving home. The steering wheel felt unfamiliar under my hands. I wondered how many more moments like this I could carry before something inside me broke down at home. Marcus asked how the visit went. His voice was careful, like he was afraid of what I might say. I told him it was fine, that she was stable. He nodded and thanked me. That was all. That night, I lay awake again. I thought about Tanya's face, about her voice, about the way Marcus sat by her side while I sat alone in my kitchen. The pieces of my marriage were shifting, and I could feel it. Over the next few weeks, I returned to the hospital several times. Each visit felt different. Tanya grew stronger. She talked more. She asked about my life, my children. I answered politely, but I kept my distance emotionally. I noticed how she spoke about Marcus, with warmth, with appreciation, with a closeness that once belonged to me. I started noticing changes in myself too. I was quieter at home, less eager to fill the silence. I stopped trying to impress Marcus. I stopped adjusting myself to make things easier. I was tired of bending, Marcus noticed. He asked if I was okay. I told him I was just thinking. He accepted that answer easily, too easily. One afternoon, while sitting by Tanya's bed, she asked me a question I had not expected. She asked me if I was happy. The question caught me off guard. I had not thought about my happiness in a long time. I hesitated before answering. Then I said the truth. I said I did not know. She looked at me for a long moment. Then she said something that stayed with me. She said Marcus often talked about how strong I was, how steady, how dependable. She said he admired that about me. That word, dependable, echoed in my mind long after I left the hospital. I realized that admiration was not the same as love, and strength was not the same as fulfillment. As days passed, the tension inside me grew. I felt pulled between the woman I had been and the woman I was becoming. I questioned everything. My choices, my silence, my sacrifices. I wondered if I had disappeared somewhere along the way. One evening, I stood alone in the kitchen, washing dishes. The sound of running water filled the room. I looked at my reflection in the window and barely recognized myself. I looked tired. Not just physically, but deeply tired. I realized then that this conflict was not only about Marcus and Tanya, it was about me, about what I had accepted, about what I deserved. The hospital visits continued, but each time I felt a little more distant, not just from Tanya, but from Marcus too. I was watching my life from the outside, noticing things I had ignored for years, and somewhere in that quiet observation, something inside me began to shift, slowly, painfully, but steadily. I did not know yet where that shift would lead. I only knew that I could not go back to who I was before. The conflict was no longer just between two women and one man. It was within me, and it was growing. The turning point did not arrive loudly. It did not come with shouting or slammed doors. It came quietly, the way most life-changing moments do, slipping in when you are already tired and no longer guarding yourself. By then, I had visited the hospital so many times that the nurses nodded at me like I belonged there. That alone should have told me something about how far my life had drifted from what it used to be. Tanya was healing slowly. Her bruises faded into yellow shadows. The machines around her bed beeped less often. She smiled more. With each improvement in her body, something in my heart felt heavier. I watched Marcus sit beside her, leaning forward when she spoke, listening closely. It was the same posture he used to have with me years ago. Seeing it directed towards someone else felt like watching my past replay in front of me. One afternoon, Marcus stepped out to speak with a doctor, leaving Tanya and me alone. The room was quiet except for the soft hum of the air vent. Tanya looked at me for a long moment before she spoke. Her voice was calm, but there was something careful in it, like she was choosing each word. "There's something I need to tell you," she said. I nodded, already feeling my chest tighten. I had learned by then that whenever someone said those words, nothing good followed. She told me that when she first met Marcus, she did not know he was married. She said he talked about me, but not as his wife. He talked about me as someone from his past, someone he had grown apart from. She said she believed him. She said she would never have started anything if she had known the full truth. I listened quietly, my hands folded in my lap. I had heard similar explanations before, but something about the way she spoke felt different. There was no urgency in her voice, no need to defend herself, just honesty. Then she said something I was not prepared for. She said Marcus often told her that I was strong enough to be fine without him, that I had always been independent, steady, and capable. She said he believed I would understand, that I would forgive. That was when something inside me cracked, not because of the betrayal. I had already lived inside that pain, but because of the assumption beneath it, the idea that my strength meant I could carry more hurt without breaking. The idea that being dependable meant being disposable. I realized then that Marcus had mistaken my silence for acceptance, my patience for permission, my loyalty for invisibility. I left the hospital that day feeling hollow. On the drive home, the road stretched ahead of me like a question with no answer. I thought about all the times I had swallowed my needs to keep peace, all the times I had chosen quiet over honesty. I wondered how many parts of myself I had set aside without noticing. That evening, I asked Marcus to sit with me at the kitchen table, the same table where so many meals had been shared. He looked surprised, but he sat down. His body language was cautious, like he already knew this conversation would not be easy. I told him what Tanya had said. I watched his face as I spoke. His eyes dropped to the table. He did not deny it. He said he never meant to hurt me. He said he thought I was stronger than this. He said he believed I would forgive him eventually. Those words settled heavily between us. I realized then that Marcus did not truly see me. He saw a version of me shaped by years of sacrifice, a version that existed to support, to forgive, to endure. He did not see the woman who had dreams, fears, and limits. He did not see how much it had cost me to become that version. That night, after Marcus went to bed, I stayed at the table long after the house went quiet. I stared at the chairs, the walls, the familiar space that suddenly felt foreign. I felt grief not just for my marriage, but for myself, for the woman I had been before I learned to make myself smaller. The next few days passed slowly. I moved through them like someone underwater, cooking, cleaning, smiling when necessary. Inside, I was unraveling. I began to understand that the pain I felt was not just about Marcus choosing another woman. It was about me choosing everyone else over myself for too long. The final turning point came on a rainy afternoon. I went to the hospital one last time, not because Tanya needed me, but because I needed closure. When I entered the room, she was sitting up, reading. She looked stronger, more alive. We talked quietly about small things, about the weather, about the children. Then she said something that surprised me. She said she had decided to let Marcus go. She said she could not build a future on someone else's broken foundation. She said she deserved honesty, even if it meant being alone. Her words landed softly, but they carried weight. As I left the hospital that day, I felt something shift inside me. Tanya had chosen herself, not out of anger, not out of pride, but out of self-respect. I realized then that I had a choice too. That evening, I told Marcus I needed space, not to punish him, not to threaten, but to think, to feel, to breathe. He looked startled. He asked if I was leaving. I told him I did not know yet. I told him I needed to figure out who I was without holding everything together. For the first time in years, I slept alone by choice. The bed felt wide, but it also felt honest. In the days that followed, I began to remember pieces of myself I had forgotten. I took walks alone. I sat in silence without trying to fill it. I thought about the dreams I once had and the woman I still might become. The turning point was not dramatic. It was quiet, but it was final. I understood that strength did not mean enduring everything. Sometimes strength meant stopping and in. That understanding, my life began to shift in a direction I had never imagined, but one that finally felt like mine. The days after I asked Marcus for space moved slowly, like time itself was unsure of what to do with me. The house felt different when I stopped trying to manage everything at once. I noticed sounds I had ignored for years. The hum of the refrigerator, the ticking of the clock, the way the floor creaked when I walked across the living room late at night. Silence no longer felt like something I had to fix. It simply existed. Marcus stayed in the guest room. We spoke politely, carefully, like two people learning a new language. Neither of us wanted to speak. He asked if I was okay. I said I was trying to be. That was the truth. I was not falling apart, but I was not steady either. I was somewhere in between, learning how to stand without leaning on habits that had defined me for decades. I spent more time alone than I ever had before. At first, that frightened me. I was used to being needed, used to measuring my worth by how much I gave. Without that constant motion, I felt empty. But slowly, that emptiness began to feel like space. Space to think, space to breathe, space to remember who I was before I learned to disappear inside my roles. I started taking morning walks, nothing long, just around the neighborhood. I watched the way sunlight touched the trees. I noticed other women walking alone, pushing strollers, heading to work. I wondered about their lives, their choices, their quiet struggles. It reminded me that pain was not unique to me, that growth also was not. The children noticed the change before I said anything. Daniel asked why Dad was sleeping in the other room. Alyssa asked if everything was okay. I told them the truth in gentle words. I told them sometimes adults have to stop and listen to their hearts. I did not blame their father. I did not explain everything. I wanted them to feel safe, even while things were uncertain. They accepted my answer more easily than I expected. Children often do when they sense honesty without fear. Watching them reminded me that strength did not always look like holding everything together. Sometimes it looked like letting things rest. Marcus and I began talking more honestly than we had in years. Not every day, not easily, but when we did, there was less pretending. He admitted he had taken my presence for granted. He said he thought I would always be there, steady and unchanging. Hearing that hurt, but it also confirmed what I had already learned. He had loved my reliability more than my reality. I listened without interrupting. I did not rush to comfort him. That was new for me. For once, I let him sit with his own discomfort. I realized how often I had shielded him from consequences by absorbing pain quietly. Forgiveness did not arrive all at once. It came slowly in pieces. I forgave him for being flawed before I forgave him for hurting me. I forgave myself for staying silent longer than I should have. That forgiveness was harder. I had to accept that I made choices based on what I knew at the time, not what I know now. I returned to the hospital one final time, not to see Tanya, but to walk past the place where everything had shifted. The building looked the same, but I was different. I felt no anger toward her anymore, only understanding. She had been a mirror, not the cause. The truth was, my marriage had been drifting long before she entered the picture. A few weeks later, Tanya called me. Her voice sounded stronger. She said she was moving closer to her sister. Starting over, she thanked me for my kindness. I thanked her for her honesty. We ended the call without promises or bitterness. Just two women who had crossed paths in pain and walked away changed out at home. I began reclaiming small parts of myself. I enrolled in a short course at the community center. Nothing ambitious, just something that belonged to me. I rearranged the kitchen. I donated clothes I no longer felt like wearing. These were small acts, but they felt meaningful. Each one reminded me that I had agency. Marcus noticed the changes. He asked what I wanted. That question had once felt impossible to answer. Now I took my time. I told him I wanted respect, honesty, and room to be myself. I told him I could no longer carry everything alone. He listened. Whether he truly understood, I could not yet tell. But for the first time, I was not explaining myself for his comfort. Our marriage did not magically repair itself. Healing was slow. Some days were peaceful, others were heavy. But the difference was that I no longer measured progress by how little conflict there was. I measured it by how honest I felt with myself. I learned that love without voice becomes invisible. I learned that strength without boundaries becomes exhaustion. I learned that loyalty should not require self-erasure. There were nights when grief still found me, when memories surfaced unexpectedly, when I mourned the life I thought I had. I let those moments come and go without fighting them. Grief, I learned, was not something to fix. It was something to honor. Over time, I noticed a quiet confidence growing inside me. Not loud, not dramatic, just steady. The same kind of steadiness I once gave to everyone else now turned inward. I stood a little straighter. I spoke a little more clearly. I stopped apologizing for needing space. I did not know what the future would look like, whether my marriage would survive or end. But I knew one thing for certain. I would no longer abandon myself to keep peace. That realization brought a sense of calm I had not felt in years. Not because everything was resolved, but because I finally was Dot in the quiet months that followed. I learned how to live without rushing to explain myself. That was new for me. For most of my life, I had filled every pause with effort, every silence with service. Now, I let moments simply be. I let mornings arrive without plans. I let evenings settle without forcing conversation. And in that stillness, I began to hear my own voice again. I realized that healing does not feel like happiness at first. It feels like honesty. It feels like noticing when something hurts instead of pushing through it. It feels like choosing rest without guilt. Some days, that honesty made me sad. Other days, it made me hopeful. But it always felt real. Marcus and I continued our slow, careful conversations. Sometimes we spoke about the past. Sometimes we spoke about the future. And sometimes we spoke about nothing at all. I stopped trying to control where our story would end. I understood that not every story needs to be forced into a neat shape. Some stories change, and that change is the point. What mattered most was that I had changed too. I was no longer waiting to be chosen. I was choosing myself quietly every day. I was learning that love should not cost you your voice. That commitment should not mean disappearance. That strength does not require silence. There were moments when doubt returned. Moments when I wondered if I had waited too long to wake up. But then I reminded myself that awareness does not follow a schedule. It arrives when you are ready to receive it. And when it does, it asks only one thing of you: that you listen. I thought often about the woman I had been when I walked into that hospital room. The woman holding a small bag, trembling, searching another woman's face for answers. I felt tenderness toward her now. She did the best she could with the understanding she had. She did not fail. She survived long enough to grow. Looking back, I realized that what shattered in that hospital room was not just my idea of marriage. It was my belief that love required self-sacrifice without limit. That belief had been passed down with good intentions, but it was incomplete. Love, I learned, must include the self to be whole. I did not come out of this experience angry. I came out awake. Awake to my needs. Awake to my worth. Awake to the quiet truth that I deserve to take up space in my own life. Today, when I sit at the same kitchen table where so much pain unfolded, it no longer feels heavy. It feels honest. The table has witnessed meals, arguments, silences, and truths. It holds history, but it does not trap me in it. I understand now that places do not imprison us. Fear does not if you are listening to my story and finding pieces of yourself in it. I want you to hear this gently. You are not weak for staying, and you are not wrong for leaving. Strength is not measured by endurance alone. It is measured by awareness, choice, and care for yourself. Sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is stop pretending everything is fine. Sometimes, the kindest thing you can do is listen to the quiet voice inside. You that has been waiting patiently to be heard. My life did not end when my world shattered. It began again, differently, slower, truer, and for the first time in a long time, it feels like it belongs to me. And that, I have learned, is enough.